Hi there everyone, my name is Sarah Haselwood and I am a freelance writer at Sarah Haselwood Writing Services, and today I have the challenge of talking about my top tips for writing, which is actually quite hard because it's what I obviously do for a living and have done for a long time just because I love it. And so to try and turn everybody into writers is pretty impossible, but I thought maybe I could talk about some ways that you could review your content, have a think about the kind of things you're writing or not writing, because I know what it's like. We all tend to get on with our businesses, and sometimes something like the content or the blogs or anything like that is the last thing on the list and gets left behind. So for me, it's just a way that I can give you a few top tips today and see if I can give you a bit of inspiration potentially. So starting with inspiration, I love a quote, so I'm going to start right here. And my quotes here are an Oscar Wilde favourite for me, that you can always be creative, and the more you do it, the better you get and the better you'll practice that. And then another one there that you can see, in that you just need to get on and do it, which sounds like I'm being really hard on you, but sometimes it's about practice. So for me, writing can be learned. You know, we're all good at some things, but writing can be practiced and you can get better at it. And actually sometimes the more you do something, the more you realize how much you love it. So who knows, you might not go away loving writing after this, but you might feel a little inspired to get cracking on it. So there's my quote. So top tip number one, I would say, before you start getting on and writing your masterpiece, there's some things you need to ask yourself and consider. What are others doing? So have a think about what potentially others in your industry are doing, or others that you might consider competitors. So what are they doing in terms of their content? Are they over social media every second of the day? Is it all about their website presence, or are there other things that they are doing? And that's not to say you have to do exactly what they're doing. It's sometimes to give you some ideas and some inspiration and some thoughts. You also need to think about what's right for your business, because we're all going to need and want different things from our content. So there are going to be some businesses that are doing weekly newsletters or constantly on social media, you know, really regularly. There's others that will do blogs and articles, and that might not be right for you in your business, and that might not be what your customers want. So again, it's kind of stripping this back and going back to the beginning and thinking, what are other people doing, what's right for your business, but what are your customers wanting to read? If they need the bare minimum, then you've got to get your content on your website right. That might be the first place to start. So just a thought there. And then also think about researching. So as I said, think about competitors. Are they doing blogs? What are their websites look like? What does the social media look like? Have a nose around and see what other people are doing, and see if you can get any ideas from that. Top tip number two, I said at the beginning, is to start writing and get practicing. You're not supposed to be writers. We all have our things that we enjoy and are passionate about, but if you get started, you might find you love it. I would certainly think about the basics first. So don't go writing a 2,000 word article about something. I'd try and sort of go back to the beginning again and think about what the basics are, and don't put pressure on yourself to create a novel or a masterpiece overnight. Also, when you're writing, don't try and I think people have a tendency to do this. I used to do this. It's very easy to think, oh, I'll put some long words in there and I'll make it quite difficult to read because that makes me look like a really good writer, because I know lots of long words and that kind of thing. But that's not what people want to read, and that's not what people are going to stay with. So keep your content concise, keep it really easy to read. There's some writing details available that say that you should really be aiming your content at almost young children. So it should be easy to read. People have got to get on your homepage or read an article or a blog or whatever it might be and think, great, I know what this is all about. It's very readable. it's exciting, and I've got to keep going with it. If it's too difficult to read, people are going to switch off. People haven't got the time for that, or probably the commitment. So when you're writing, think about, what are you good at? What kind of things might you be good at writing about in terms of your business? Think about your time. You know, if you can only write now and again, what are the key things you need to get right? And think about your interests. So if you think you really enjoy writing about something, do it, and sort of get that practice and get into that. Top tip 3, kind of almost sort of what I said earlier, is about getting the basics right. So what you don't want to do is steam ahead and start thinking, right, okay, I'm going to crack this, I'm going to write this is going to be my, my one thing that I'm going to do. Before you go ahead and do that, you need to get the basics right. So this is really important, to get your website right, if you've got one. Think about when you might have gone on websites before, or looked at content, and there's spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes, or the content doesn't flow, or you've read 3 paragraphs and you have absolutely no idea what services that business is offering. People are going to switch off, go somewhere else and find another business. So get those basics right. Have a look at your website and be really critical if you can, and think, is this serving the purpose I need it to? Is this going to be really, really friendly and easy to use for potential clients? And what are they getting out of this in terms of, what am I telling them, and how interesting is it? So again, have a look at others, and try and get somebody to have a look at your website as well, and be critical, because when we look at our things a lot, so sometimes you can't see if there's any errors or it doesn't read well. And even I have to do that sometimes. I have to ask people to read something for me if it's my personal things, because you can't always see it when you're in the midst of it. So I think website is a really, really good place to start, and really think about what you're telling your customers there, and getting the messages across. Your business content, again, it depends what you're doing and the business you're in. Some places will be doing regular content out in terms of maybe email campaigns or newsletters. So have a look at that, and again, keep it concise, keep it short. You don't need to write hundreds of words in an email to somebody, but try and get that consistency in your content, so you're sending the same kind of things to people. And again, really important on social media, try and get that consistency. And you don't have to post a lot of content when you post a picture on Instagram or a piece on LinkedIn, but it's about getting that right. Make sure it's your tone, make sure it sounds like you, and again, just double check for spelling mistakes and errors, because again, it says quite a lot about your business if it looks rushed, doesn't look thought through. And then when you've sort of done those basics, then you can consider other areas that you may or may not do, that you may have or want to do. So blogs, I'll talk about blogs in a minute, but whether you would like to do blogs and how would you do that. Think about your email campaigns. How consistent are they? How regular are they? How useful are they? If you've got anyone you can get feedback from, that's really important as well. What are people actually getting out of that? You don't want to do any of this writing for the sake of, certainly with time factors as well. Again, social media, have a look at that. LinkedIn articles are really, really good. It depends on your business, but LinkedIn articles are a great way to really talk about something you're an expert in terms of your business. It's a great way to get new people to have a look at what you're doing. It shows your expertise. So LinkedIn articles are a great way to get your voice out there. And as I said, newsletters, some businesses they work for more than others. And then another thing that's really good, if you've got the time, because all of us have got so much time, but guest posts or guest blogs are really useful. So if you look at a business that could be relevant to you, and you could approach that business and say, I'd really like to write a blog for you, because I'm an expert in this and this would really work well. It's quite a good way, again, to get your name and your voice out there on somebody else's site that might have different visitors. So yes, just a thought, but again, ideal world, we don't always have the time for doing all the extras. Or be consistent. And this should be easy because we all know our own tone of voice, we all know the way we speak. But again, as I said earlier, don't try and make your content too advanced or too business-like if that's not your style and that's not your business. You know, obviously, when we are speaking to our customers or potential customers through content, we need to have that professional style. We need to be really strict on the spelling and the grammar, as I've said. But it's also about getting that authenticity across, because you are selling you and your business as well. So you need to have the language that reflects how you would speak, the tone of voice. And when I'm writing for other people, that's often the hardest part to get right, because if I'm writing, if I'm doing maybe some ghost writing for somebody and they've given me some details of the kind of thing they want to write about, they might give me some bullet points or some scraps of paper sometimes, and I will look at their notes and I will make an article out of it, or some website content, or whatever it is they're looking for. The hardest part is trying to make sure I get that tone of voice of the customer across, because there's no point speaking like me if I'm somebody else's business. So when you're writing, just think about how you can get your tone of voice in there and make sure that, and it sounds a bit cringy, but how can you get your personality across so it sounds like you while still being professional and authentic? So really, really important part to get that across. And again, think about your style. What is your style of writing? And the more you practice that, the more you'll find your own style and the way that you like to write and the way that it comes across. Again, consistency in the type of communication. You know, if you're going to do social media posts, try and do them as regularly as you can. Try and, again, be consistent with sort of when they're coming out and what they're about in terms of your business. And if in doubt, ask someone else to read it. Get somebody to have a quick look, to skim read it. It might be that you've read it so many times you can't see an error there. So it's certainly worth doing that as well. Oh, sorry, it's like noise on the computer. And then blogging. I mean, blogging always gets such a big press, doesn't it? It's so popular, it's so talked about, everybody seems to be doing it. And when I first started doing it, I thought I was quite trendy and cool because I was blogging, and then I realized that this is everywhere now. And I was looking for some stats to add on here. Always feel like I've got to do a stat. So I was having a look, and apparently 86% of companies are producing blogs over any other format. So really, really important. And blogs are brilliant to drive traffic to your site and highlight your knowledge and expertise. So not only will they be picked up in search engines if they're done correctly, then also when somebody has then come to your site, you've got a potential customer there, but they'll also be able to read your blog and think, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about, and look at that knowledge. So really worth doing, but again, if you have the time. And one thing I would say is, if you're going to commit to blogging for your business, try and do it regularly. And that doesn't mean every day, it doesn't even have to be every week, but try and do it every month if you can. Because if you go on somebody's website and see, oh, look, they've got a blogging section, oh, they haven't written one since 2016, it says something about the business, I think, and their commitment. So if you can, try and do that. I know sometimes I work with clients who will say to me, I want to do blogs, but I need you to write them, and I've got 6 ideas, can you write them? And then they'll have 6 blogs that we can produce together that they can have to post monthly. So they've sort of got their 6-month backup there, parked and ready to go. So just, different styles. Back up any statements with evidence if you can. So if you're going to put in your blog, 100% of people said this, where did you get that? You need to be able to sort of show where your source is and link that back. You can also link it back to other blogs on your pages once you have written a few, just to keep people on your site and refer back, and get those other links in there as well. Make sure you add headings which, under the sort of Google and SEO, search engine optimization rules, they need to be in a certain structure, and the way you head them can help with the Google search. But I'm not going to go into the detail about SEO, but just add headings. It just breaks it up. It's like little bite-sized pieces when people are reading it. And then once you've written your blogs, don't just let them sit there. You need to then sort of go out and advertise and market those. So you can refer people on social media to a new blog that you've got. You can add links on LinkedIn. So certain things that you can do to kind of get more people to go and read your blogs. You don't need to be an SEO expert on the search engine optimization, but there are some things you can do, sort of basic things, but essentially just get blogging if you can, and just sort of get those out there if you can, and if you can commit to those. They're very popular, and sometimes a really good one to do, which is hugely popular, is something called a listicle, which is, you'll have seen them all over the place. It will say somewhere, you'll go on a site and it will say 7 ways to, I don't know, combat lockdown or something. There's loads at the moment. And then it will be a quick click on, and then you'll have a list of your 7 ways of how you can go about whatever the title is. So those are really, really popular. And another stat for you, these listicles get 2 times more shares than other blog formats. So they're quite easy to write in that respect, because they're quite quick, bullety, and good for sharing, because you'll have some information there somebody else might want to read. That's blogs. Top tip 6, I guess, which is just kind of my final piece, and something you really need to do. If nothing else at the moment, I would go and have a look at all your content at the moment and check that it's current. There's so much change going on, as we all know, in the world, and so many businesses have now got to adapt the way they work because of the coronavirus. So you need to go into your website and business content and check that reflects that. So if you are having to practice differently, or your services have changed, or anything like that, get that in there. Doesn't have to be a lot of information, but just get it in there, so that people on your site can sort of think, yes, they're on top of it. If you're not up to date, I think it reflects your brand and your reputation. It doesn't look like you're on the ball. So this also, this is applied as well to your services, your prices, your contact details. So anything that changes, and this may sound really obvious, but sometimes a phone number would change, or maybe an office location. And I've seen it when I've gone to sites, and all you want to do is pick up the phone to that company, and you can't, because you can't find the details that are relevant. So just do a quick check and make sure that everything on there is relevant and up to date. And it could be some really basic stuff that you need to change, rather than adding a whole new page related to COVID. So that's me. I'm just going to quickly whack on the last page my contact details. Thank you for watching and listening to me, and being kind of virtually there throughout this. It's been really nice to do this, and also to have the monthly updates from everybody to see what everybody's doing in their businesses. So here are my details. I'm on social media. You can find me generally under Sarah Haselwood Writing Services. I'm in Oxted in Surrey, and I've got all my contact details on my website. So any questions, even if you just want to run anything past me because you're not sure what to do, I'm very happy to chat. It's always nice to chat to local people and local businesses. So give me a shout, and good luck with all the rest of this madness that we're kind of going through at the moment. And thanks for listening.